Each year, more and more children are diagnosed with autism, and early intervention is considered essential to giving them the best chance in life. One of the state's leaders in the field opened a new centre on the Gold Coast this week, but a funding shortfall means it's only operating at half capacity, and the AEIOU Foundation says things are only going to get worse under the National Disability Insurance Scheme. Louisa Rebgetz reports.
Jet Summerhayes' parents knew something wasn't quite right with their son when he was just 4 months old.
He was always quite developmentally delayed. He didn't have a lot of eye contact. He just slept all the time. Didn't smile, didn't talk. So that sort of rang alarm bells.
Last year, when Jet turned 3, he was diagnosed with autism. The condition affects 1 in every 100 people. His case is considered moderate.
She's in a house, up in the sky.
It means he can't communicate properly and struggles with fine motor skills.
He can get across his basic needs and wants, such as drink or food or eat. He can't ride a bike, he can't draw, he can't write his name.
Federal government guidelines recommend children like Jet have 20 hours of therapy a week. At the moment, most of that falls to his mother.
Plane and a tractor.
I find it hard to come home and run a household, look after my other daughter, help with my husband's business and do 20 hours a week therapy with my son.
This Gold Coast centre provides the kind of intensive intervention Jet needs.
1 potato, 2 potatoes, 3 potatoes, 4.
And targets children aged between 3 and 6.
They get 20 hours of specialised early intervention with a team. So each group of 10 children has a teacher, 2 teacher aides and a behavioural therapist, and then we have a team of speech therapists, occupational therapists and behavioural psychologists that work across those groups.
Dr James Morton set up the AEIOU Foundation a decade ago after his son was diagnosed with autism. There are now 9 not-for-profit centres across Queensland, with 200 children enrolled.
The majority of the children are toilet trained very quickly. That makes a big impact on a family. They develop the ability to communicate within the first 6 to 12 months, and once they can communicate, you can negotiate.
In the earlier years, that's when they learn the fastest, they learn the quickest. They're like a sponge where they can absorb so much from the environment.
Isabella, back.
Some families get double the benefit. Jolene Stroh is a Brisbane mother of twins.
Their confidence really improved, their eye contacts really improved, but the biggest improvement for us is just all the noises. The words that we started hearing and the sounds, and I feel that they really started to find their voice when they were here.
But this kind of intervention isn't cheap. The AEIOU centres need $50,000 a year for each child. They rely on fundraising and grants from the Queensland Government to top up childcare payments. James Morton says the Gold Coast is underfunded compared to other regions, and as a result, the new centre is half empty.
There's really a need for about 60 placements at the Gold Coast, and there's currently about 14 funded placements. Through some support from the government, we've been able to enrol 20 children. But what we'd really like to do is address the rest of that need at the coast so those families aren't missing out.
I've been on the wait list about 8 months, and Jet will be turning 5 in 4 months' time, so once he's 5 he'll be ineligible for a placement. So yeah, time's ticking.
Across Australia, hopes were high that the National Disability Insurance Scheme would be the answer for parents. In South Australia, the NDIS is already being trialled.
Should I throw it?
Yeah. Beck Payne's 5-year-old son Jed has a place at the Adelaide AEIOU Centre, set to open next month.
Jed still soils himself because he is at that mentality, that age. It's like having a giant 2-year-old at home, so it's a lot of hard work. going to keep it out.
But Beck Payne says under the trial, which combines state and federal funding, she's allocated $16,000 a year for therapy.
Cow.
That buys just 6 hours a week, a long way short of the 20 hours recommended.
The NDIS offered me the world, and now, you know, I mean, when they showed me my plan, I mean, I was in tears. I was so happy and thought, this is fantastic. But now, when you actually have time to think about it and absorb it all in, it's not enough. It's just, and I'm shattered. What's gone?
Perversely, in this case, it seems that one group of Australians who need help with autism spectrum disorder could end up being much worse off with the NDIS. That is clearly a bizarre outcome. It needs to be avoided at all costs.
The NDIS will be progressively rolled out in Queensland from 2016. AEIOU fears that payments to parents won't be enough to keep the centres going.
The funding under the NDIS is less than the current per child funding we're getting in Queensland. So we are not going to be able to continue this service in Queensland under the NDIS as it sits at this moment.
The NDIS says payments to parents are on a case-by-case basis.
There's not a list of things that we fund and don't fund, and there isn't caps and limits. We have developed some operational guidelines to support staff when they're dealing with a typical circumstance. So where a child presents with a level of need, or in fact the most appropriate support for them to achieve their goals, sits outside the guidelines, the agency would make a decision to fund the most appropriate option.
Time is running out for 4-year-old Jet Summerhays. His mum wants him to go to a mainstream school, but she says without therapy, that's unlikely. She's just hoping others see the benefits of investing in her son's future.
He's engaging and charismatic, I believe. He's quite a happy little boy, and I think there's so much potential for him to go further and have a bright future with intensive therapy.
And the state government says it provides $53 million to organisations for disability services on the Gold Coast, which includes some for children with autism. And that's the program. We'll see you next week.